guys, it's your boy the Boxing Lowdown, and I'm back here with another Mythical Monday video. Now, as always guys, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Feel free to drop a comment if you like and I'll happily get back to you. Now, let's get on to these recommendations. Shout out to everybody, first of all, that have left recommendations for Mythical Monday matchups. I'm going to work through all of them, do you know what I mean? I've got quite a few to look at. And shout out to Conrad for this one, because this is a great matchup. And when I saw it, I just thought, yeah, I need to get into this one. So shout out to Conrad and shout out to all of you guys that have left, fantasy matchups for me to do. This one here, heavyweight division. Ike Ibeabuchi against Evander Holyfield. Man, yo, this is a great Mythical Monday matchup, man. So shout out to Conrad. And, like when I think about what this potential fight would have been like, I can only think of a great fight. Do you know what I mean? Ike Ibeabuchi, unfortunately, we didn't get to see what he really could have done. He's going to be one of those heavyweight stories where we just don't know how good he really could have been. But it was all set up for him, It's a sad story, really, because he was on the way up, you know what I mean? He got inspired to watch boxing after Buster Douglas defeated Mike Tyson. He got inspired to get into it. And he did. He took to the sport very well. Undefeated as a pro, you know what I mean? He was about to join the Nigerian military, but then he turned to boxing, turned pro. He moved up the rankings quickly, and it culminated in him defeating David Chua. David Chua was undefeated at the time, and that was a big clash going in because Chua was given the big build-up. He was knocking everybody out. He was the monster. He was looked at as the new Mike Tyson, according to some people. And Ibeabuchi beat him, you know what I mean? Tremendous fight that was. And he also knocked out Chris Bird as well before he became heavyweight champion. So the question remains, how good would Ike Ibeabuchi have been? Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't really get to see it. Unfortunately, after that, his personal life took a bit of a downturn. He was suffering with mental issues. He went to jail. Do you know what I mean? He was in a mental facility. So we never really got to see how good Ike could have been. Do you know what I mean? The Nigerian, he was just brilliant. You know what I mean? Threw a lot of punches. He had power. He was a physical specimen. And how would he have gotten against Holyfield? I mean, we all know how good Evander Holyfield was. And I know what Conrad said. He asked me to do this fantasy matchup here. But Evander Holyfield, for me, there was two stages of his heavyweight journey. Do you know what I mean? There was one where he was in his prime and then one when he was not in his prime. And I think when Ibeabuchi and Holyfield would have met, it probably would have been, it would have been towards the time when Evander Holyfield was coming out of his prime. And look, Evander Holyfield out of his prime, I'm talking about 1999, the year 2000. That's when we're talking here. And Evander Holyfield fought not too long ago. It's crazy, but yeah. If they fought then, Conrad, if Ibeabuchi and Holyfield fought then in 2000, let's say, or probably after when he beat Chris Bird, Ibeabuchi, and that would have been around the time when Holyfield, I think he just lost to Lewis, and he was about to fight John Ruiz. Around that time, I don't know, it's hard for me to say, but I probably would have leaned towards Ibeabuchi. But if we're talking prime for prime, Holyfield's far more proven in terms of what he's done in the ring. He's a legend in the game, and it's hard for me to pick prime for prime Ibeabuchi over Holyfield then. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of if they were to meet at that time, it would have been a lot closer, and I could see Ibeabuchi maybe outworking Holyfield then, but I don't know. That's what I tend to think. But I do say that prime for prime, Holyfield, he was just outstanding. I mean, look at the guy's resume. He's the only four-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's defeated he's got the draw with Lennox Lewis on his record. But then look at the names he's beaten. He's beaten the likes of a Mike Tyson. He's beaten the likes of a Riddick Bowe. Do you know what I mean? He's had all these fights. He was undisputed cruiserweight champion as well. Forget all of these like last weekend or the weekend before when Holyfield fought, or the later stages of his career when he was just being beaten by everybody. That's not the real deal to me. The real deal was back then in the late 90s, the 80s, the late 90s, the early 2000s, not even the early 2000s really. I'd say the 80s and 90s was when we saw the real Evander Holyfield, man. And I'd say that version of Holyfield would be Ibeabuchi, simply because I don't know how good he would have been. Do you know what I mean? We got a glimpse of it. We saw his potential, but he was a bit predictable in his attacks as well, Ibeabuchi. I think that Holyfield had a bit more to him. and I think he would have won on points in that fight. But it would have been a great fight. It would have been an absolutely fantastic fight. But yeah, great fight, man. And a shame it never happened. But yeah, as I said about Ibeabuchi, he, you know, his life took a turn for the worse, unfortunately. Got caught up in a lot of drama outside of the ring. And yeah, it's a big thing in boxers, man, this whole mental health thing. And, you know, our head is not really physically designed to be hit at. And unfortunately for Ibeabuchi, his mental health took a turn for the worse, got into all sorts of trouble, and yeah, he ended up going to jail. So we never got to see how good he really could have been. But thank you, Conrad, for the recommendation. And don't forget to drop yours in if you haven't already. I'm going to be working through the rest of them, as I said. But shout out to all of you guys, and I'll catch you with the next Mythical Monday video next week.